Hello and welcome to Abyss Knights, the old school deck that absolutely terrorizes creatures with the Abyss, an enchantment that forces each player to destroy one of their non-artifact creatures in their upkeep. I love the flavor, I love the art, everything about this card, it's absolutely awesome. I really love it. But it is quite an old card. So let's have a look at some more modern wording. So with the Abyss, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, destroy target non-artifact creature that player controls, it can't be regenerated. The target part is really relevant because protection from black says that this card cannot be targeted by black spells or abilities, meaning the Abyss can't kill it. So if you just have Abyss and White Knight as your only creature, the Knight will be completely fine because Abyss can't touch it. And that is what this whole deck is built around. We can also use protection from black with Pestilence because protection from black reduces all damage from black sources to 0, meaning no matter how many times you ping with Pestilence, the White Knight will take 0 damage. This is also super potent with First Strike because we can put First Strike damage on first, and then we can use Pestilence, effectively killing a much bigger creature before it can kill our White Knight. There aren't actually that many good protection from black creatures in old school Magic. These three are the best three, but of course for mana reasons we're not going to play all three, we're not going to play Welling Dervish. We are going to play the 2 White Knights though. Order of Litber is absolutely savage in the late game when we have lots of mana to pump into it. So we have those, but of course we also have artifact creatures that don't die to the Abyss. Now Sushi and Triskelion are well known as just excellent creatures in their own right. Juggernaut is also very solid and can hit for a huge punch of damage. All these creatures are good, but when you have an Abyss in play killing your opponent's stuff, they're even better. But of course there's a lot of artifacts that we could play. I really like Brassman and Jotun Soldier. They're both very cheap, especially Brassman for 1 mana and 3 toughness. It can just block forever. I'm not really too worried about its kind of drawback there. It's definitely a card I'm going to try out more in my slower and more controlling decks. We can also play Tetraverse, a very solid flyer, although it is a bit expensive. And having all of these really expensive cards mean that we need some mana rocks to ramp them out. Abyss costs 4, lots of our creatures cost 4 or more. This is super helpful. We also want Sol Ring, and Sol Ring is a pointed card under the X point system. If you've never played this before, I totally recommend it. It's my favorite way to play old school. You're allowed 10 points worth of cards from this list. After you've used your 10 points, you can't use any other cards. Of course, if you're just playing regular old school, you'll play all of the good cards, but here I've allocated my points. 3 Abyss because it's good enough that we really want to draw it, but 4 is kind of just overkill. Tutor to help us find it, Sol Ring to help us ramp our stuff out, and then the remaining points I've put into Factory. Unfortunately, we can't afford all 4, but you know, 3 is still good enough. Although I would definitely understand if someone wanted to play Maze of Ith. It's a really powerful card and works amazingly well with the Abyss, so I could definitely see these points working in different ways depending on your playstyle and what you like. So onto removal, we have just the classic white removal, Swords to Plowshares, and we also have Chaos Orb. Not really too much to say about either of those, they're just premium removal. And being a white deck, we also have disenchant effects. Not really anything to say about these either. I usually like to keep them in the sideboard for X point lists, but yeah, again, nothing much to say here. We will be playing Jayemdae Tome though. As a slow control deck, the Abyss can just really make these games go really long, so having a way to draw extra cards and finish it is really, really nice. For the land, we're playing Strip Mine and Factories, but apart from that, just the usual black-white lands you'd expect, nothing special. And there are quite a few options in this deck. Even though Serra Angel dies to the Abyss, it's just so strong that I like to play 1 or 2 anyway. The same with Hippie in the sideboard, and Disrupting Scepter I just really like because it can attack their hand, because often if you have an Abyss in play, they'll just hold lots of creatures in their hand. The sideboard, as I mentioned, I really like to have some extra creatures because the Abyss isn't always good. Against some decks like Combo or Control, it doesn't really do that much, so I like to swap it out for some really good game winners. Circle Protection Red is crucial in this deck because burn decks can just burn us out through the Abyss. I also like extra copies of Disenchant, some removal, and some sinkholes to take out opposing factories. When playing this deck, it's as simple as basically ramping out all your good stuff as quickly as possible. If you can get an Abyss on turn 3, that can just be game over for many decks. If we don't have an Abyss, we can just try to ramp out our other stuff like Suchi or Triskelion, and these really will dominate the board. If we can't get in for damage because maybe they've got mazes or moat or something, I like to use Pestilence to just win the game and ping them out. We can also keep it around forever if we have no creatures in play because of the way it interacts with Mishra's Factory. We can animate the factory in response to the ability, keeping the Pestilence around forever. So against this deck, burn spells are really good, they can kill us through the Abyss. Armageddon and Land Destruction because we need a lot of mana, and also Maze of Ith because it's quite hard for us to deal with and it can stop us from just finishing the game. Of course, our opponent also playing artifacts or protection from black kind of nullifies our deck's strategy, so we do have a bit of a problem with those two. So we're definitely a mid-range deck, although I'd say on the slightly more controlling side. In most of our games, we're just trying to dominate the board with our creatures, while our Abyss just goes to work. The strengths of the deck, I mean, it's fun for us killing all their stuff with the Abyss, it's definitely not fun for them. The removal is really strong, the creatures are strong, you know, we just destroy creature decks. Main deck pro black is really good against those mono black decks, and we have loads of targets for their disenchants, meaning it's hard for them to pick a singular one. The weakness is, Abyss is a very expensive card money-wise. Everyone's bringing sideboard hates against us, and combos and some control. So this is my actual list that I used to come in the top 4 of the most recent X Points tournament. I will be posting some gameplay videos of this deck from the top 4, so do look out for that. As always, if you enjoy these videos, please do like, comment and subscribe, it really helps the channel out. And thank you for watching, and bye bye.